morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. The gladiator guru is in the house, and she is back on state soil, U.S. soil. So good morning, everyone. I am still in Tennessee. However, I will be broadcasting next week from a different location, which will be kind of fun. But anyway, I'm the badass Buddha, Lori Monaco. And welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. Happy Thursday. Good morning, Gladiator Guru.
Good morning, good morning. Buenos días, mi gente. Aquí con la Margarita, your Gladiator Guru in Connecticut. There's no other way. I'm home. It feels good, though. Yesterday, I think I felt like I slept 2,400 hours, but the swelling's down in my feet. I could walk now. Everything's starting to get back to as it should. But yeah, it's good to be home. It's good to be home to the basics, to your bed, to your comfy pajamas. And to sleep really deep without interruption. Yes.
Was the baby happy to see you? Your 3-year-old?
So I snuck in, and they thought I was a robber. And Savannah just jumped, and she didn't go to bed till really late. But just jumping up, the dog jumped. I don't know which one was trying to get me first, Savannah or Dior, but it was beautiful. And my daughter, no, it was all beautiful. My son was at work. So yeah.
How big did the baby get since you've been gone?
Oh, Maron, she's like a butterball. She looks like a miniature Pillsbury Doughboy. That's how, and solid. Good morning, honey. You know, you how do they become so solid? But yeah, she's big. She's crying now. She's not in her parents' sleep, so.
Does she look like does she still look like Robert?
Just like him.
Oh,
just
that's so funny.
Attitude, like sometimes, yeah.
The attitude too.
But she's adorable. Oh, honey, you got to see her. She is adorable. She'll talk to you. Yesterday, I had her for a bit, and I'm teaching her how to go because Savannah can't do it. So I said, what if Mila could do it before Savannah? Because that's the type of grandma I am. And you see her trying to form her little tongue, and she's blowing like she's actually trying to do it. You just get the kick. They're so amazing babies. I remember I had little Henny from when he was born to he was about, I think, almost a year old before they put him in a daycare. So yeah, it's the same thing. And the bond is forever because I my grandson, he's so amazing.
When you have amazing grandchildren, like across the board. They're all really very cool.
My other one, my 14-year-old graduated 8th grade. Was in a cap and gown, and he's like 6'2". Like I'm sure he feels out of place in 8th grade, but yeah, it's amazing. And Savannah, talk about. I made a pizza at school today. Was good. Yesterday, my son had to go and they had to make pizza. She's like, it was good.
Oh my gosh. Well, so we managed without you. I ended up on Tuesday. I wasn't feeling good at the start of the show, but once you said that you couldn't go on, I started to get onto a roll, so it was all good. So we did start the conversation. Ready, fire, aim. So today is part 2. So we did get the gist of it. I had looked it up right before the show had started, and so I knew when you sent what you wrote, yours was just much more poetic, but it was definitely, we were on the right track. So we're just going to like elaborate on that, especially with regards to like your stories, like Ready, Fire, Aim is really very indicative of like the first time you ever went on the Camino, because you really almost like jumped on it before you actually, before you aimed, you fired before you aimed. And there's pluses and minuses. A lot of times the plus really is, there's more pluses than minuses, but the plus is the fact that we sometimes take so long to get ready and sometimes take so long to aim that we prepare, we talk about it, we get ourselves
And go
amped up.
nowhere.
We're not ready about it. We have to do this has to come into play first. And then before we know it, 6 months to a year passes and we don't bother to go forward. And sometimes we do have to just do it and then fix it as we go, or learn from the things that we did incorrectly. But the interesting thing is that when you are on your right path and you still go for it, a lot of times the universe does conspire to make things work out in your favor. So before you go too far into the mud pit, it'll alert you and you'll be aware of it and ready to pull yourself to the right or to the left, or maybe just get a foot in there and say, oh, okay, yeah, you're right, I don't have to go in here, let me take my foot out and shake it off. So it was a very good conversation. We had a lot of sharing, especially from our usual suspects. Gail is one of them, but so what if you tie into, look, we want to hear overall about your experience for this last time. I know we were hearing it while you were away, but what have you come to? Like, you had the plane ride to come, you had the last few days where you weren't hiking. How has that culminated into ready, fire, aim for you?
Well, remember throughout the conversation, throughout my stay there, it was always ready, fire, aim from jump. We get there, we take the plane, a train, a bus to get to where we left off. And so we had to stay overnight in Pamplona, and to then in the morning take the bus to where we left off and back in January. But throughout the trip, like, we had it planned. I don't have my book with me, but I love it because it's all dog-eared, stained with coffee, wet with water, and it's all written in. Nothing went according to plan. Not even what village we were going to stay at the next day until we were actually walking. If we had to be at a village because we sent the backpacks, then we had to push. And when I tell you, people think, oh, it must have been tiring. Your feet must have hurt. Ready, fire, aim, and then you got to go through it. And I'm going to share a story. And so Iris got hurt. So we had to rest 3 days. And then that backed us up 3 days. And then I had a spiritual encounter with fighting something, which left me very ill the next day, swollen in the face, just like if ants were crawling. I had to get out of that little cursed village. So when I tell you my five senses were always on point, they were always on point. Just the compass led us in a different direction. So when we got there, we had to make it work. We had to make it happen. So the whole trip was that way. What I learned, like, when Iris got hurt, her concern was that she was going to delay me and that I was going to be upset. And my concern was that I was going to be upset because I was being delayed. You see how that goes? And then I found that I wasn't. I didn't even attempt to, okay, Margie, you should. No, it just was a flow. Like, okay, we are delayed because this is where we're supposed to be. So I had to tell her for her to just let go of that thought. And what the people we met there were the people some mysterious reasons. I mean, we were delayed. They were walking 25 to 30 kilometers. We were doing, 11 to 14 max because of, Iris's knee, and my foot is still swollen. So, and we would meet up with them again. And I was like, this is weird. Like, it doesn't make sense. Help me make it sense. So ready, fire, aim for us was learning that sometimes when you fire before knowing where it's going to land, the best moments can happen in there. But it's, how would you say it, Buddha? It's a balance. Because sometimes when you fire first, shit's going to go all haywire. But does it? So it also, when I typed this in at the airport, I was so angry because when we were having cafe in the main part, I was on. I had it all set up. When we walked into where the gate was, there was nothing. And I had to breathe. And I was like, Lori got this. She's, I knew you were going to look something up. And then I said it, and Gail can pitch in. And then they started boarding a half hour early, and then the plane didn't take off till 40 minutes after. It was just chaos, relaxed chaos. But what I'm saying is, some in this trip, I learned that I, for me, I've always been right where I don't go into detailed planning and I ride the wave, even if it takes me down a dark tunnel. But sometimes we're faced with so much shit and we're angry and we're dealing with this, and then, and that's the story I'm gonna end with right here on this section. So we're walking. We left. I don't know what day it was, but we left Villafranca de Bierzo, and it was beautiful. We stood in what was called the Phoenix, and it was a very spiritual place. I didn't feel anything but nice and peace, and we loved it. And it was old, and I was like, ugh, it's not like clean enough. But we stood there because I stood there the first time, and it just felt like it was home for some reason. So we're walking out, and that day it was, I believe, a 13-kilometer hike. So I was like, okay, we're fine. So we go to the bathroom, and then we're walking. We stopped at the pharmacy because the cough was getting worse. We stopped, drank some medicine. We're walking. I have to go to the bathroom. We're walking. We see a village. Whoo, everybody loves a village in between. So here we are, like 6 kilometers in. We're walking on the side of the road, so we had to cross the street and veer up into this village. Iris is behind me. We're walking, and it was a ghost town. And then I see a hearse with the door open. I was like, there's nobody here. Why is there
Everybody's dead.
weird?
They're burying everybody.
Well, it was weird because it was the villages on the camino. It's like, those driveway where you ride in and then you just curve and you ride back out. That's how they are. Either they go straight through and you're back in the forest, or you come in and then you go around and then you're back out, like maybe a mile after where you entered. So I see these, it says bar was, I'm not getting excited. They're both closed. One was, so I keep walking, but I saw three people who looked at me like, the people from the Stepford Wives, the movie. So it was always kind of creepy when you go I cross the street. I'm at a bus stop. I'm waiting for Iris. I was like, what the hell was that? I said, I don't know, but I'm glad we're out. We go walking, we're walking. We're like, what I'm thinking is 5 kilometers, but I think it was 6.5. All of a sudden, I gotta pee. I gotta pee. So I'm waiting for Iris to walk up. So I'm walking, and I finally see where I can
Nature is my
veer
toilet.
off like the main road and go into some bushes. So I'm waving at Iris. I'm walking to the bushes. I feel like she's going so slow, and I'm not gonna pull my pants down and have my ass, even though it's facing the woods or not, because it was like an open rest area. So I'm waiting for her. I said, I need the toilet paper. She goes, you'd have to. She's talking to me while I'm doing the pee pee dance. You didn't have to wait for me. You could have just peed and I was coming. And I said, I'm not going to do that. Well, my bladder was like, both of yous, I'm coming. So there it is. I peed myself with 6 kilometers more to walk. And then I said, it's coming. And I was like, oh my God. And then it wasn't her fault. I didn't even say it was her fault. Pee, like I had, like, your morning pee when your bladder just goes, and it's like a river flowing and it takes forever, but it feels good, that type of pee. So I had to take some paper. I said, give me the toilet paper. Like, and I rolled it up and I put it in like a pad. She's like, Margie. And I said, you know what? It's done. Let's go. So I'm walking and I'm trying to walk because we're going, cars are coming this way. We're walking this way. Thank God I always wear black. But the wind was coming towards us. So I'm trying to walk like I'm bow-legged just to get some air in there. So with my hiking pose. And I see the sign. You ever see like those movies with that spotlight and you're like, doo-doo, you hear the archangels. And I'm like, okay, we're there. Why? Tell me why. So the 6.5 kilometers was up to the sign. I think it took 20 to 25 minutes to walk up a winding path to get to the actual village. Now, ready, fire, aim. This is where I'm saying that. So we pull up. We already sent our bags that day to the municipal. It was $8 for the night, right? And of course, they're always at the other side of the village. I was so wet. I'm feeling nasty. I'm like trying to comfort myself and berating myself at the same time. And so it wasn't a good feel. And I stopped at the first one, which is where I stood 7 years ago. And I said, "Do you have any private rooms available?" And she's like, "Yes, I have two left. Would you like one?" At this point, I'm like, "Yeah." So $54 later, I'm in a private room with my own shower and everything. I said, "I'll take it." But before I could take a shower, I had to walk to the end of town, up to get my backpack, come back, and then take a shower. So you know what? Ready, fire, aim. It wasn't where I planned on staying. I'm trying to save every penny I had, but it happened. It worked out best because then when I went back in there and I went to take my clothes off, I had to pee again. It was another river, and then I had to, number two at the same time. So my body was telling me something, right? So ready, fire, aim for me because I'm not such a planner like normal planners are, where they make a to-do list and they know. I know that from January to March, this is what I have to get done, but it's never on a date. I just know. Shut up, Irish. That's what she called me, pee pee girl. My father,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm not ashamed of it. Before I left on the Camino, I don't know if I told you about this. I had a sonogram or whatever they're called for my pelvic and my bladder, and they're like, "It's beautiful. Everything's where it's supposed to be." And I'm like, "So like why am I pissing at myself? Why be when I would walk in the bathroom, my vagina got so excited it wanted to pee before my pants were down." That happened several times on the Camino.
That's not. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, my daughter and I were just talking about that. How it's like your bladder and colon don't see where you're going, but yet they know when you're minutes from your house. When you said you had to pee for the last hour, and then all of a sudden you're like 2 minutes from the house, or you park, and you're like, "Oh my God, I gotta go." We were just laughing about this. That it's like they have their own set of eyes. It's like they're sitting there going, "Okay, we're there. I'm ready to release. You better get your ass where it needs to go." Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But all that is that ready, fire, aim is that, you know what, we didn't plan to spend money that day. We were trying to keep a budget, but
Sure.
I knew I wasn't gonna walk all the way up another hill to get to the church place where I had to share a bedroom and a bathroom with 50 other people. I knew at that moment I needed my privacy. I needed some
And make
solace.
sure
I
that the
needed to
room was
just recoup.
available.
But
Yeah.
so it happens. It didn't break the bank. We just had to go cheaper the next couple of days. So for me, ready, fire, aim, and that aspect is okay when you're reading paperwork, which is where I taught it from in my adult classes when I facilitated um, employability and life skills. That is very imperative that you read everything before you sign it. But as far as your daily life, sometimes you have to trip over yourself to get the best view, to win
Well,
the
look,
prize. You gotta-
I want to share what Gail wrote. So Gail says, "I was telling my son that my best vacations have been those that I just went on, not specific plans." And then she goes on to say, "I plan enough to have an idea of what and why, like business and marketing plans, and then I go and no longer look at the plan. I get it out of my head into the first step of manifesting by writing it down. Then I go with the flow." I agree. I think that, and well, let me say something here too. You've got to. We talk all the time about knowing self. Like knowing what works best for you. Oh, we got the little one coming in. Wow, she got so big. Oh gosh, she really does look just like Daddy. Holy moly! Look at how thick she is.
Hey, Mila, say hi,
Ah, what's her name again?
Mila. Mila Capri. Oh, I'm sorry.
Myla. Okay, M
She got to
Y
get
L
used to
A
me again.
M Y L.
Mylah.
Okay, nice. Good
Yeah.
morning, Wanda. Want my friend Wanda? Oh my God, she's just too cute. Where's the other one? Is she gonna make an entrance? The
She's
other
not
one?
feeling well.
Oh,
Good morning, Leanne.
good
But
morning.
yeah, okay, go ahead. You were saying something.
So I was saying that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, you have to know yourself. Okay, there are some people that are so good at planning, prepping, and then doing. Like I've met people that are meticulous about this. Like they do the planning, but they do follow through. So for those people, we're not going to tell them, "Hey, listen, just go with the flow and just got to get rid of the planning." They know themselves. They know what works, and that's the key thing. What I think I get a little bent on sometimes is when you go to, like, especially when you're in business, when you go to business coaching or group sessions or, like, it's a workshop, and they're telling you you have to be this way, and if you are not built that way, all you're going to do is frustrate the crap out of yourself. You have got to find what works for you, and you have got to say, I'm okay with being this way. For me, some things I plan out because they have to be, and then other things I go with the flow more. And I have found that when I just listen to my instinct and decide, okay, this one needs to be a little bit more planned, this one could go with the flow, then everything works out as it should. And then know that even if I did plan it, or even if I did go with the flow, like sometimes you'll go with the flow and then you'll realize halfway through I got to do a little planning. Or you'll plan and then realize that didn't work out the way I needed it. I got to go with the flow. It's about knowing when to shift and knowing when, and I said this on Tuesday, it's knowing when to ready, fire, aim, and it's knowing when to ready, aim, fire. But you have to know yourself and do not allow yourself to be talked into doing things that are not specific to you, to the point where if you do decide, listen, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great workshops out there, there's a lot of great free coaching available and all kinds of things, but go in there knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, and be prepared to stick up for yourself, to say, well, that would be great, that's not really going to work for me. Or don't say anything, let them talk. You take in the information that works for you and then you apply it. Don't get talked into doing things or signing up for stuff or saying, you have to do it this way. Are you going to do it this way? I'm going to do it the way that works for me. Because I'm telling you, remember when I've said this before, that for years I kept hearing from business coaches, it's bad to be a jack of all trades, bad to be a jack of all trades, master of nothing. You want to be specific, you want a niche, you want to hone in on this one thing. And I stressed the crap out of myself because I am a jack of all trades. Like it's amazing the things that I know how to do. I've amazed myself with some of the things, how varied they are, down to like building things and stuff. So I was like, oh, I got a niche. I got to be this. I got to be perfect at this and blah, blah, blah. And then finally it hit me like just like a few months ago, actually not even a couple of months ago, where I was like, I am a jack of all trades. And it's great because I can shift and do something. But here's the cool part is that when something interests me, I can put my full force into it and I can focus on it. So then I can do a ready, fire, aim and just jump right into it. So screw you. For anybody that's saying to me, oh, well, you can't be a jack of all trades, you're master of nothing. Guess what? I'm a master of a lot of stuff, biatch. I mean, that's the reality of it is. So I don't have to be specifically great at something because that's not me. I admire and I'm inspired by people that are like that. That you have that one person that's so good at one thing that they do. They're like phenomenal at it. Good for you. That is your path. That is not my path, because my path requires me to be that jack of all trades. I have to be able to do all these things because of all the many projects that I have going on. Plus, I get bored of doing the same thing over and over again. So that's the beauty, is to embrace that. You have to embrace who you are, and you have to say, hey, listen, I'm ready, fire, aim, but I'm also ready, aim, fire. And then focus on your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Good morning. Gwen's
Well,
here. Good
yeah,
morning.
I've always been who I am. And I've said it in the past when people are like, what do you do? I have to like, who do I want to be today? Because I love that I am a lot of everything. And the thing is that I love that I am a lot of everything. And not everybody needs, people only focus, oh, I'm a teacher. Oh, I'm a writer. I'm a life coach. Sometimes that's all people can take in. So you have to feel comfortable when you're saying it. But I've always been, people would always say, just focus on one thing. What I learned with that, at first it would upset me. And then I felt like, oh, I'm not finishing this because I'm doing that. And then I said, okay, I'm going to really focus on my three top things and then finish one and then start the other, but know that there's three. And that started working for me. And that's what I've carried into today. Yesterday, I'm on the phone. I get three texts. I already have 7 jars of tea. That you're back. Okay, I need my 7 jars of tea. My jars of tea, I sell them, the big glass jars, because all you have to do is then order the refills. That the size that I have is between $35 to $40 a jar, and it's my top seller, my digestive mix that I created. But then someone wants 2 jars of my passion flower, which helps you with your anxiety and all that. And then I'm talking to my sister yesterday, her coworkers there, who ordered a bag from me, one of my $40 purses with the series of breast cancer women survivors I'm painting, and she orders 2 more. So I haven't even like really gotten back to me. Yesterday I like stood home all day, and it's already happening. Why? Because when you do not fear what you are capable of doing, then you're choosing you over everything else. And I've always said this: when something doesn't go your way and you say, because of this person, because this happened, because of that happened, I always say, put your big girl panties on, because it's what you chose not to do. It always
Yeah.
goes back to you. What didn't I choose to do? Why didn't I fired without knowing what the aim was? But when I fired, you have the big picture of everything. If that's what it is, you're fired. Now you get the big overview of everything. You're looking over everything. Never
Yep.
be afraid to be who you are and be everything that you are, because guess what? One thing I know, coming back yesterday, I'm laying down, I want to think about nothing. My feet, I it was mid calf swollen. It was horrible. But now I'm up because now I'm on Spain time, so I'm up like do. Been up since 5 o'clock this morning, and I started visioning, and I started thinking, this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. But the bottom line is, I'm gonna always go like I'm always gonna bet on the house, and I'm the house. I am the motherfucking house in the neighborhood that's always gonna get my attention. What I got to fix, what I need to delete, what I need to evict, what I need to keep, what I need to put on the top shelf, and what's right in front of me that I'm always seeing, that is always accessible, that it's always a reminder. I'm here. What are you going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to create? What are we going to not? What needs to be eliminated, even if it's for a shadow of a time, you know, and then get back to it. We got to realize who we are, where we're at, where we want to be, what we're going to do or not. Dum-dum. And that's what you have to do for yourself. A lot of people go and listen to all these people because they have a podcast and they know, and they have this free webinar, and they have this also. They're smarter than me. They know more than me. They're going to help direct me. And you're picking up everybody's energy, everybody's vibration that doesn't fit you. And then you're angry, but now you have a reason to blame somebody why you wasted all your time. So sometimes we need to sit back and say, I fired, but did I fire on purpose so that then, knowing I'm not going to get nothing out of it, but that it'll give me more time to figure it out. That's how life is. That's the balance. You do good for good. And sometimes you try out for good, but hoping it doesn't turn out good. So you have a reason to be a victim of your
I
own
want to say
choices.
good
Go
morning
ahead.
to good morning to Wanda. I
Hi,
see
Titi.
Desiree. We saw Gwen on. Good morning, Gwen. Delilah Sanchez. I love that name, Delilah. I really wished I had fought for Charlotte's name to be Delilah. I wanted it to be Delilah so badly, but alas, I was voted out, which I should have just stood my ground.
Delilah's beautiful.
I wasn't ready to stand my ground when she was born, but 3 years later, that's when I came to it. So let me put what we have written here. So Leanne says the people that are specialized find themselves outdated like technology. It is better to expand one's expertise and not stay comfortable in their bubble. Well, I don't mean it that way. I mean, like, people who are specialized usually keep up to date in their specialty. Like they'll like if they're a medical doctor and they specialize in surgery, they'll specialize in that, and that's all they'll be good at. And then when they go home, they can't fix, like something that easily that broke in the house. I always think of one of our favorite shows that we watch a lot here at the house, which is The Big Bang Theory. And those guys were like extreme. Like one of the guys was extraordinarily bright, but he just, there was other things that he just couldn't do. He wasn't capable of. That's what I'm talking about. Where I like the fact that I can do a lot of other things, and there's a lot of other people that can do stuff like that. Like if I had to, I could figure it out because I have the ability to do it. If it means watching a YouTube video to learn how to do it, it's just I don't want to do it. Like we have a clogged pipe in the bathroom, and though it was replaced and all the piping was just replaced this week, but it's clogging again. I'm looking at that and I didn't want to take it apart. I could do it. It's not like I can't. It's gross. Like I don't, not too much grosses me out, but clogged pipes gross me out. So now I'm looking at it going, okay, all the pipes were replaced now under the sink, but it's still clogging, which means I got to go back in there. So I got to go now and kind of research a little bit and see where could that clog be coming from? Why is it still clogging if the piping was replaced? But that's the whole point is I know I could rely on myself and not be like, oh my God, the pipe is clogged. I got to call Roto-Rooter and get them here. And oh my God, they're not going to be here for another week. I'm like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to do it because I'm capable of doing it. Mm-hmm. Desiree says, like technical high schools are such a bonus for kids because having a trade never goes to waste. No matter what you choose for your life, you always have a trade to fall back on if you decide not to make that trade your main focus. Yes, I am a big fan of technical high schools. In fact, I tried to get my middle daughter to go to one because I thought that would have been better for her. And I think that, back in our day, we did get taught. It's interesting. We got taught a lot of extra things that we didn't think twice about when we were in middle and high school, like things like home economics, right? And the irony is they don't get taught that anymore.
No.
Some kids do get what's called life skills. That's in that genre. It falls under that category. But it's only certain children qualify for that. And I look at my daughter, and I failed her in that sense. The first time we were getting ready to cook, and I'm going, okay, go ahead and cook this. She's like, I don't know how. And I'm like, how do you not know how to like measure a cup? How do you not know how to boil what? And I'm like, oh my God, because I learned that in 7th grade. Plus, I paid attention, and that wasn't really an interest of hers. But we learned those skills because that was part of our life. And now these children have to relearn these things. Gail says, yes, I sent my son to bartending school. He's an aerospace engineer. Oh, well, that's a little lightweight, easy job, I'm going to tell you. But worked bartending through school and now mixes amazing drinks during the holidays. Yeah, I did that. I wrote in there too that I did that when I was before, during, and after first year after chiropractic school. I bartended and waited tables. It's good money. Let's see. My sister says, like attorneys, some are very book smart but have no common sense. Right? Exactly. And that's the other thing is that, but some do. Like I love meeting people who, like our cousin, for instance. Our cousin is a pharmacist and an entrepreneur, and he's very, very good at being an entrepreneur. He's been very successful in his own businesses. But this man can if he had to build his own house from scratch, he could totally do it. He could fix cars. He builds things. He fixes things. He could build a car from scratch if he had to, because as he was growing up, that was the stuff that interested him. He would do it. He would buy old cars and he would restore them, and then he would resell them, And it's beautiful to be that, he is a jack of all trades, but he's also extraordinarily successful. I think a lot of times we look at it and go, well, I don't know how to do this, so I'm just going to plan and prep and learn how to do this, but then you never take action. It's don't worry about everything else. Yes, it helps to do the things you already know how to do because you can move forward, and then learn as you go. Nobody ever said that you can't. Well, I have to stop wearing my tracks because I don't know how to do that. When you're talking about like law of attraction, you have to be very clear on what it is that you want, why you want it, and don't focus on the how. Don't say, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get this? How am I going to go travel here? How am I going to get the money to do that? How am I going to get the time off? You focus on the what and the why, and the how often will present itself. It's just like all of a sudden something will pop up and it'll be like a class that for this thing that you've been wanting to learn how to do, and all of a sudden you're on Facebook scrolling and there's a class that pops up and you're like, holy crap, that's what I want to learn how to do. Now, if you don't jump on it and take the class and sign up, then that's on you. Then you are not firing. So you have to look at that and go, that was a sign. I thought I wanted to learn how to do this. There's the class. I am available that day. Oh, it's $80. It's going to be steep, but you know what? I wanted the class. It's presented to me. I'm going to take the class. $80 is steep. I don't know if I have it. Just take it. The money will come. And if the money doesn't come now, you have to trade, move things around, and the money will come later.
Exactly. That's one of the things I adopted recently. I think in March or right before I signed the lease to the art studio. You know, money is currency and currency is energy. And
Yes.
if you put it out in a positive, even if your emotions must feel positive, you're trusting yourself, it always comes back to you. And I know there's people who want to have massive savings accounts and want to make sure that they have X amount of dollars on their credit card, and all that is good. It's good. But I love the fact, because I've lived this the majority part of my life. I'm trying to be better. I actually am doing much better. We're having a savings account, having a secret savings account. But because I lived miracles, I've had nothing. And on the 11th hour, somebody would knock, or I would get a Zelle or a Cash App for even future items that they wanted to buy from me. But I always got what I needed when I needed it. It's always good to have it for just in cases, but it's better to me to I've always had it when I needed it. Why? Because I carry kindness and gratitude in my heart. And because you know how many homeless people I bought coffee for in Spain this time? Or I had like two people come up and ask for €1 to go eat lunch at whatever. So I was like, So after the second one, I said, I wonder if this is real, because I would like to know what it is. And it was real. The homeless people, or the people who don't have enough for food, you bring them €1 and they feed you. And it was part of a church, but it wasn't in the church, but it was one of those places that help people like that in the middle of Santiago. So I always kept euros in my pocket, because in Spain you got the $5 bill, but after that it's a $2 coin, €2 and €1, and then 50 cents now. So I always kept the €1 in my pocket. Why? Because money is currency and currency is energy. And if when you give for a good cause without thinking why you're giving it, because it was just a cause and you just said that and that's why it's coming. I'm like, so it's coming. One thing I need to plan for, because I'm in the halfway point of my life, right? The second half of my life, I'm already halfway through it. So we need to have that money in our pocket. We need to have it. I don't really trust the bank, but I can trust my daughter-in-law, and I might give her money to save for me and give me an allowance from my own money, because I know how bad I am. And the thing is, I'm not lying to myself. I know I can. Somebody can call and say, hey, Margie. And I'm like, I really don't want to, but then I'll do it. But it always comes full circle. And I hope I kept on the thing. I just wanted to share that there are places that actually feed people. There were people that came up to me. We always sat outside because, I'm a smoker. So we always sat on the outside part of the cafes. And they would come up and say, me compra un café. And I was like, yeah. And then there was a homeless lady that I knew from 7 years ago. She never looks homeless to me, trust. And she says, me compras un café? And I look at her and I was like, yes. And she goes, okay, I'm just going to go inside and let them know to put it on your tab. And she sits inside and she eats her churro and she drinks her coffee. And then she comes out and tells me thank you. And the bartender already knows that I always pay for her coffee. How beautiful is that they feel a sense of safety to see a familiar face. Because I'm not thinking she's getting over on me. I'm thinking she's like, oh, she's back. She's going to buy me a coffee and a churro. And then I get to use the bathroom inside the bar. See how smart that? That's why they drink it inside, because then they're able to use the facilities. And I know how it feels to piss on myself. 6.5 kilometers away from safety. So we're gonna do that for people. Go ahead.
So the question is that we have for you, remember, this is the Take Action Month. We are now in our second week of,
Yes.
we're almost halfway through the month. I didn't want to say that. We're almost halfway through the month. But the thing is that we have to say, how is the rest of the summer going to be? For some, school just ended. For my daughter, it ended a month ago. Summer has been kicked off Memorial Day weekend, if you want to look at it that way. Some people just look at summer kicking off as mid-June to, Labor Day weekend. It doesn't matter. I have found, for me, that I am the absolute most productive in the warmer months. Okay. That I do prefer the sun. I do like rain, but rain has a different feel for me, and I have to go with the flow. It has been nothing but
13.
sunny and just beautiful here. The temperatures have been wonderful. So, what does that mean for me? That means that I have to take action, because this is when I feel the most drive, the most motivated. And my intention is to make sure that I am taking action for the entire month. So, June is the Ready, Fire, Aim month for me, so that July I can ride it. Like I'm going to ride the wave. And August is riding the wave as well,
Mm.
but getting ready for the fall, which is going to be in the next transition. Because again, winter time becomes the time where I slow down a little bit. It's not purposeful. It's just that's what I have noticed about myself. So it's one of those things, like, for instance, let's look at it in terms of, for years ago, like we're talking when people used to, till their own land, grow their own stuff. So they would bust their butts in the spring, prepping the ground and doing all that stuff, planting the crops. Then they would bust their butts tending to the crops all summer. Then in the fall, they would bust their butts to break everything down, because they knew in the winter there was no crops. And it was imperative for them to store all that food appropriately so that it could take them for the winter. So the winter changed. They would do different things in the winter time, and then it would start all over again. And because we don't have that mentality anymore, we don't need to. In the wintertime, we just go to the store and we buy whatever it is that we want to buy. But because I've noticed that about myself, because I noticed that I have kind of that, I have that mentality for myself, that I have to do stuff accordingly. So if that means that if I tend to be slower in the wintertime, I don't want to go out nearly as much, that I don't, I tend to be more in house. What can I do that allows me, that encourages growth still in that? So for me, that part is the Ready, Aim, Fire. That's the Ready, Aim, Fire, because I do have to look ahead, and I have to say, okay, where am I today? What am I doing today? What am I doing tomorrow, this week, next week? And then in the end, how is that going to prepare me for the winter? So historically, as a chiropractor, a lot of times the summer months, they could be waxing and waning. People go on vacation, they don't come in as much, whatever. So I can understand that I might not see that many people. However, I have to prepare myself so that in the fall and in the winter, when people do want to come in, like, I have to plant the seeds now. I have to do all my massive marketing now so that I can be ready for what comes up. And the thing is that I'm ready to do that because I have the energy to do that. So I'm ready to start getting out there, which I've been doing. And so I don't mind firing and aiming, because I have the energy to do so. But there's also a certain piece of it that I have to aim and then fire. Like, I can't just show up and introduce myself. I have to have stuff in hand. So I had to prepare. I had to create flyers. But the cool part is that again, it's about knowing yourself. It's saying, hey, listen, you know what? I like summer. Summer is harder on me. I don't like the heat. I tend to be a little more sluggish. So don't pile up a gazillion things for yourself to do if you know that you are sluggish in the summer. If you say, no, my best time is the fall when it's cooler or when it's in the springtime, then that's when you want to say to yourself, that's when I'm really going to ready, fire, aim. I'm going to push myself and push myself. But all we're asking you, June is kind of that flex month, depending on where you live. It's not too hot yet. It's not cold. Take action now.
Go
And
ahead.
if you say, oh, June and July and August are just brutal where I live, it's just too hot, then do it right now. If you don't want to go outside, because I know that's how I used to be. It's very interesting. When I was in Connecticut, July and August, I really was not a fan of, in the sense of it was always so hot and humid. So I didn't like going outside and doing like, I would do the yard work I had to do, but I didn't want to do anything extra. Interestingly, I'm further south, but the summer here, even though it is hot and humid, I don't know, it's different. It's very tolerable for me. We have a nice wind. I don't know if it's because we're near the mountains, the foothills, so it's a little bit different, but I don't mind going out. I don't mind going out there. I don't mind sweating. It doesn't bother me nearly as much. So, but still, I have to say to myself, just in case it does, I want to make sure that everything that I need to do is a little easier to do if it is too hot to do it. So that's where the prep work comes into play. So like making sure the animals are all, everything is easier to do. I don't want to make more work for myself. So I'm going to put the work in now to make sure that the animal pens are a certain way, so that I have to do minimal when it's harder to do, like when it's raining or when it's too hot or if it's too cold. It's the same thing with the garden, like I was like, oh, I got to roll up the hose, and our hose is really long from where the spigot is to water that garden. And I'm like, why do I need to pull up the hose? Just leave it there. It's not going to harm anything. So it burns the grass a little bit. Who the hell cares? And when I cut the grass, I'll just move the hose out of the way and then put it back. Because why am I going to keep going back and forth with that? And then maybe in the near future, we will create something to where there is a pipe there, so that we just have to get the spigot. But right now, it's not in the budget, and it's time. You make it work.
What you just said is very important, because going back, would you have rolled that up every time you used it and be aggravated every time you rolled it up? Because
every
you
day.
had to roll it up because it had to be in its place. It couldn't just be laying there. And that's what we do to ourselves. So that analogy was fantastic, because so many times we do what we don't want to do, but we feel we have to do it, and then we're killing our own joy of wanting to do something else. And you know what? I 2:45 this morning, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I'm in Connecticut again, and it's gonna be cold, and it's not even the sunlight, because I'm a moon baby. The sunlight was, I lived in Florida 17 years. I never went out when it was sunny. But it was the cold. Like, I'm back here on purpose. And I guess it's just a whole different attitude I'm going to have to put on about where I'm at, because what's the word that I used? I chose to be here. So that means I
Right.
have to ready, fire, aim. I have to push myself. I have to set agendas, not plans, agendas. This week, this is what I want to have done. Like today, I have several places to go. My daughter-in-law don't know, so we have to talk. But she's still on maternity leave, so I'm good. And there's stuff I have to do to elevate me to my next level. But if I don't do this now, then things are going to happen. And then I'm going to delay, and something else is going to take place. And then I'm going to deem it not important. And then when it is important, I'm not going to have it. So I think we all have to put on our super fucking hero cape and figure out what it is that we do. Where does our magic lay? Where do we want to
Yes.
see ourselves? Where do we want to go from here? What do we need to leave behind? Because on this camino, what I figured is not everybody can come with me. Not everybody is meant to travel my path.
Right.
And because I'm such a Captain Save a Hole, where I also learned that was a lot of crying and just walking and my mind opening up is because I, since the age of 6, had to survive on my own. I took care of myself. I had to grow up. I had to, do mine and my little sisters here. And we always went to school with the ponytail that was half past the monkey's ass down here and nothing tight. And so because I had to do that for me, I try to help other people, whether it's through conversation, storytelling, so that they don't have to go through certain things, but everybody has to go through certain things, right? And I learned that on this thing. I have to stop trying to fix people so that they can understand. People need to understand at their own time. And that was my push on the Camino. This was for this month. My push was fix the areas of Margarita and teach by action because I get frustrated when I'm talking and maybe this and do this and then and because it's the people you love and they still don't get it. Then they get mad at you because you're telling them again what they failed to do the first time, and that's why they're still in the situation. So the push for me is for me to be the true epitome of me in all my glory and all my maravillosaness. And that's what this month is. That's what my agenda. But let me tell you, we rented a car on Sunday. We were supposed to take a bus, but we rented a car. Iris's idea. And we go there and we rent a 2024 V12 BMW with 15 kilometers on it. Now I'm a hot mess. Like I hate borrowing people's cars. Now I'm like in a rental car that's probably worth 2 years' salary or something, right? And I'm going 127 kilometers on the highway. I'm like, what the hell? We go into another country,
Thelma
and
and
although
Louise. Go ahead.
it was only 2 hours away, we drove into another country, like no plans. But who can say like, oh, let's just drive into another country today and have coffee with the locals? I went to visit my grandfather's birthplace because all my life my grandfather didn't want us because my father was a dark skinned Puerto Rican. So we said, okay, I'm my mother's birth certificate. Her father's Italian, Nicholas de Tuzzi. But I'm good. We don't have to claim our Portuguese side. Well, my ancestry said I'm 27% Portuguese, and it tells me exactly where my DNA is from. So I reach out to my mother's cousin. She confirms it. We go. A village of maybe 10 people. And nobody was there that day because they were all at a funeral. So go figure. But I went and we took videos and we took pictures, and it was so not planned. And Iris is laughing at me because I'm nervous driving this new car. She's wanting me to make constant U-turns because her camera wasn't quick enough to take a picture of a sign. It was crazy. And it was the best time. And from the 1st to the 11th, when I left Santiago, that was like the best moment, was taking a cab to the airport, driving out in this new BMW, and just saying. And then we went an hour the wrong way to then drive 2.5 hours the right way. And then when we get there, it was only 2 hours and a half to get back to Spain in Santiago. But it was just fun driving all these highways and bridges. And sometimes we just got to do what we got to do. But the 2:45 a.m. conversation was just that. I chose to be here in Connecticut. So that means I'm going to have to choose to embrace the cold and the dark winter days. And I'm going to start telling myself as of now, and then I'm going to leave projects for that time, those months after, because I love the fall, but October, late October, November, December, it's going to be really not my style, but projects should be left for that. And that's what I'm planning on. You badass?
Hold on.
Desiree, we are hilarious. Everybody thought that we were a couple. Everybody assumed we were lesbians and a couple. And until I was like, oh, my cousin Zoe's, and they're like, your cousin? Oh, that's your cousin? So it was funny, and so, because we would sit at cafes and have like loud arguments with one another, or we'll be cracking up, or Iris would be singing, and it's just it was hilarious. And so people were like real like, oh, so this is your partner. Sometimes they'll just come out and say it, or they'll come back and say so and so and I were sitting here debating, what was your relationship. And the thing is, when you're okay with everything, you're okay with everything. So yeah, we were hilarious. Not when we were arguing, but other than that, it was good.
That's so funny. Yep, my girlfriend, my wife. This is my wife. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then like what, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, that would have never been a person's thought. It would have just
Never.
been sisters, you were cousins. They would have came up with it. Friends,
Exactly.
they would have never thought that. That's so funny.
I was thinking, I told Iris 5 years ago, this wouldn't have even been an issue. And you're saying like 15, but it depends where you're at. And in Santiago, they're very diversified. They have the LGBTQ plus benches, and it's very diversified, and it is beautiful. And we took pictures on the benches and everything, because it's like they have, like, when you cross the street, they have the lines going this way, which is where people cross, and then outside of the line they have the rainbow things. And because there was a lot of bullying and there was a lot of murders for people who are different, so that's how they incorporate more. If you see it, then it's just automatic acceptance and stuff like that. So good morning, Toji. So that part was beautiful, and someone had read comments, and I'm sorry we didn't get to it. These are my new glasses I just got when I came back yesterday, so I'm still adjusting. If I move too fast, it makes me dizzy, because I wore $2.50 pharmacy glasses while I lost mine. Okay, that's
So
what I have.
good morning, Tony. I see that you're here as well. So listen, we're at the end of today's subject, and we haven't figured out what the hell we're else talking about for the rest of the month, but we'll figure it out. Now that Gladiator Guru is back, we'll sit down and we'll go over topics. But again, it is about taking action. So we basically have we have almost 2.5 weeks left of this month, and the question is that if you've struggled to push yourself to do things or make changes, be motivated for this month, for the 2.5 weeks that we have left. Be encouraged by the conversations that we're having. Let us be the kick in the ass that you need to say, you know what, I'm not going to think, I'm just going to do. Because when you get into that space, and when you are okay with being in that space, and you embrace being in that space, so many more things will open up for you. It was just like what Gail was saying earlier. Sometimes the best things happen when they're not planned, but sometimes you do have to have a little bit of a plan, because
You have to have an idea.
yeah, it could cost you more. It could cost you time. That's the one thing that I have learned. The two things that I cannot stand the most happening when I don't have at least a little bit of a plan is I end up spending more, and I end up wasting time, and I don't like wasting time. So if I go somewhere with the kids, like I don't like to just be like, okay, we're just going to show up and go to this place. It's like, let's have an idea, and we're going to, we'll do this around this time period, and then we'll leave this open for exploration and blah, blah, blah. What else is around there? What else can we do? Because what if the things that, you get there and you're like, oh, well, everything is like 5 miles this way and 5 miles that way. And that just takes more time. Then to get the group to decide, especially for the group of people, well, do you really want to do this? Well, let me think about it. It's like, I found that with my family, I always have a little bit of, like, I'm the cruise director. I always have like a little bit of things that this is planned, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It doesn't have to be set in stone. We can have some flexibility, but this is the overall game plan, because they tend to like to just go with the flow with what I'm saying. Hey, that sounds like a good idea, or okay, we'll try this, we'll try that. We went to Gatlinburg. My kids and I have been to Gatlinburg before, but we've done like whitewater rafting down there. We've done like something else down there. Cry and I went hiking, but then we actually went into downtown Gatlinburg, which I had never been in before. And it was interesting. Like, it was crowded, and it was, it looked like, I felt like I was actually in Colorado, like one of the mountain cities in Colorado, like Breckenridge or something like that. But it was nice. It was, I don't normally like crowds. I don't normally like shops and just people everywhere and blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't awful, and we had no intention of staying in that little area. The intention was to go to this place called Anaquista, go hiking, exploring there, and then go outside of, like, explore Gatlinburg a little bit, but then go outside of it. We ended up just staying there the whole entire day because you had to, and it wasn't even enough time. Like, you needed a couple of days there to be able to really explore stuff. So it's good to have the plan and then be open to the flow. At first, my middle daughter, she had put a plan together, and she's like, okay, we're going to go to this place, and then I want to go hiking with you guys. And I found this other place. When I made the suggestion about, hey, let's just hang out in the town and check it out, she was visually upset. She was like disappointed. I could see in her face. And she's like, well, now I'm not going to get a chance to go. And I wanted to go hiking and show you guys, like, we'll go on these trails. And I said, we can do it another day. I said, doesn't it make more sense that we're here? We're here. Let's take advantage. We parked, paid $25 to park for 10 hours. Might as well park there for as long as we can. And then she came around, she was like, oh my God, and she started walking around and seeing some of the shops. And she's like, you know what? I definitely want to come back here. Let's come back another day where we could stay like 2 nights and like hike and then do things in town. I'm like, perfect. So it's teaching yourself about flexibility, having the plan, knowing when you're going to do ready, aim, fire, and knowing when you're going to do ready, fire, aim. That's the most important thing.
Yes.
Desiree says, yes, I plans and then keep time open for other stuff. I was the trip planner in the family. Siblings don't do anything anymore, but I loved planning so much, and it was always flexible. There would be a few things that were set, like play or comedy reservation stuff. Yeah, you have to, because sometimes you can't. Listen, if you've ever gone to Disney, you have to plan all the crap there pretty much, because you have to make reservations months in advance. Don't ever try to go in a restaurant on the day, hey, let's just show up. So, and you know what? To be honest with you, I can't stand places like that.
I hate it.
I have no desire anymore to ever go back to that place, because it's too planned. It's too, and it really isn't the happiest place on earth.
It's not. I don't like Disney at all. But, you said something, and push yourself, because you got to push yourself to be present. Because when you push yourself to make so many plans for something that hasn't happened yet, you're missing out on your now. So yes. As we say, pre-plan, yeah, do what you have to do, what works for you, because that shit don't work for me. But you got to do what works for you.
That's right.
And that is being in your present. Because no matter what we're talking about today, no matter what, the planning and the knowing, and of course, wasting time and money is never a happy place for anybody. So I'm totally in agreement with that. But you be present when you're making these plans, and make these plans for where they're going to fit on your schedule in a tomorrow that hasn't arrived yet, and then come right back to where you are. That's being also open and free flowing. So know yourself, because that strength helps you pull up the courage to say, this is what I'm going to do in 3 months, but right now I'm right here. Because then that 3-month plan can always be adjusted to fit to where you're at. Okay. And then things happen, and then you have a list of in 3 months, whatever the case may be. And know yourself. You mentioned something about Gothenburg, whatever, when we met people along the way. Salud. I will be marrying somebody in England next year, so that's exciting.
It's exciting.
But I was asked by people from Spain, that the south part of Spain, like Valencia and Sevilla, who were doing the Camino. One of them recently, right before we left, but it was always the same question. Why do you come all the way to Spain to hike the Camino when you have the Appalachian Trail? He did from Chicago to California, Route 66 on a motorbike with an army friend, but he lives, he's a Spaniard. Um, he said there's so many beautiful places. And I was always asked, why here? One lady we met did the whole 7-month Appalachian Trail. This is her second Camino. Um, so we were asked because we're from the United States, and it was ready, fire, aim, but it was the truth. And that's what I love about myself. Nunca te engañe. Not going to live a certain way in a certain time to appease anybody. And I said, because as a person of color, I feel safer walking through Europe, whether it be Portugal, Saint Jean Pied de Pont in France, coming over the Pyrenees into Spain, than I would hiking
Well,
here.
it's different anyway. You have towns.
No, I feel safer there. I've walked out of there
I'm
at 3
saying that
o'clock in
you
the
have
morning.
towns, the Camino, there are towns, and I don't know exactly because I didn't look into the Appalachian Trail throughout. There are towns, but there's a lot of few and far between where you have to actually camp out. You're in wilderness, you just get to it. So, I mean, we've been to one of the towns here because we are at the foothills of the Appalachian Trail. So where we are in Tennessee encompasses quite a bit of the Appalachian Trail. And so depending on certain towns you go to, like one of them we went to, Hot Springs, North Carolina, literally is part of the Appalachian Trail. So it does put you to that town. But that town was like super small and there really wasn't a lot to do there, like to places to stay, but it's different. It's very different. So it's like apples and oranges.
Might be, but I'm from the U.S. I'm a U.S. citizen, and I still feel safer. So hiking out
No,
in
it
Europe.
is. That's what I'm saying to you. It is safer because there's more people and there's more towns. Whereas Appalachian Trail, like I said, there's segments where there's nobody around except the hikers. So you're kind of in a vulnerable position.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that you hear people having horrible things happening to them, because you don't hear that on the Appalachian Trail. I mean, it could happen, but I agree with you. Plus, it's different. It's a different feel. You're experiencing culture that you've never experienced before. The United States has its own thing, and I do recommend people traveling because I've done car travel in the United States, and it's pretty cool. It's interesting to see how diverse this country is. But why we do what we do is exclusive to us, because
Exactly.
I would love, like, just you describing it makes me want to go to Europe, just because I want to be embraced. I want to embrace the culture and being in an area where I might not speak English and people might not speak English, and still be able to communicate with them and have conversation, even if you don't know what the hell each other's talking about. I mean, I think it's wonderful.
I think, yeah, Leanne, that's fine. And I trust that. I'm coming from a perspective of a person of color and my safety range of adaptation. And
Are you saying that there's a lot of white people on the Appalachian Trail?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, but pushing yourself. This is the push month. It just gives you permission to walk in your strength, to pull out your courage, to do what you always thought you wanted to do, but never thought you can. Those ideas. It's time to put them. Do baby steps, however you want to do, but let's grow into who we're meant to be. And leave the fear in your top drawer. And if anything, if you take baby steps and you start con deja el miedo en la gaveta before you set out for your day, if you can every day open that top drawer and visualize you setting some fear in there, and then you take a step, an extra step. So every day, if you got to do it in steps, take a little bit more of that fear, and then before you realize, before the end of summer, you're at where you thought you would never be because you were afraid or didn't feel confident, competent, or that you can even follow through. So every day, push yourself. Start walking in that strength and pull out that courage and set that little bit of fear every day. Open that drawer visually. Do it. Literally open the drawer. Visualize a piece of fear you're taking out, put it in, close the drawer. Every morning do that. Deja el miedo en la gaveta and then walk out and be one step closer to what you wanted to do but never believed you can, or that you should, or that you deserved it, whatever the case may be. So do
Yep.
that, because in knowing thyself, it's just endless the possibilities of where your life can be.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's do it together. We all have so many. I mean, listening to the badass, listening to all of you ladies, Gail, Leanne, Desiree, of what you want to do, what you see yourself doing. Everybody has a vision. Well, you know what? Put those goals into action. One step every day, a little closer, a little closer, a little closer, and then boom, we got it.
All
I
right. So
have a lot
let's
of peace
go.
stories.
I see a lot of people have focused on your peace story. So that
Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
out of all the things
Peace,
we talked
peace.
about, out of all the things we talked about today, everybody was leaving with the peace story. So anyway, all right.
Yes.
So everybody have
We
a
should have a
fabulous
show.
weekend.
The day of peace, peace, peace.
Yes. Everybody have a fabulous weekend. We will see you on Tuesday next week from the Badass Buddha. Remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from the Gladiator Guru, mi gente, remember to breathe in the beauty, breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste.